I wonder what this could be. If you've ever thought about running your own servers for home or business use, but don't want to deal with the headaches of maintaining hardware, why not let Linode host your services for you? They make it simple to deploy and manage your own cloud infrastructure, with solutions ranging from a single shared CPU to massive multi-core virtual machines. You can even add in dedicated enterprise GPUs for machine learning. Linode also recently started rolling out high-speed NVMe block storage to all 11 of their global data centers. Best of all, storage rates will remain at the same low price they always have been. With shared CPU plans starting at as little as $5 per month and scaling up to as high as you need to go, you'll be able to find a hosting plan that fits your needs. They also have 24/7 365 support available, regardless of your plan size. That's a better support plan than I have on my personal server rack, I can tell you that much. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing. And thanks to Linode for sponsoring today's video. Welcome back to Craft Computing, everyone. As always, I'm Jeff, and it is the best day on Craft Computing because it's new server unboxing day. And in fact, this is a server that I have been anticipating for quite some time to arrive, and I could not be more excited. So let's dive into this thing. Now, you probably have all heard of 45drives before. They're not the newest server company on the block. But this is my first experience with one of their chassis. And to be honest, I'm actually not entirely sure what they sent me. So this is as much a surprise to me as it is to you. Red, can you kick that off to the side for me? Hooray! And there is my new Storinator. As you might have guessed, 45drives sent this out for my review. However, like all reviews on this channel, no money changed hands. 45drives gets no input over the content of this video, but I will be keeping this storage server to use in my home rack for some future projects. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss all those. That being said, this is my first look at this particular Storinator, and I figured I would bring you guys along for the ride. So this is the Storinator AV15. Now, if you hadn't guessed, 45drives is famous for, well, putting 45 drives into a 4U chassis. The AV15 is one of their smaller units, and while it's still a 4U chassis, it fits 15 drives into this small frame. But of course, a storage server probably needs to have storage in it, right? So 45drives also sent over a selection of Seagate Exos enterprise drives for me to fill this thing up with. Well, not fill, but they sent over some drives. So in here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. One hard drive. To start off this new file server, 45drives was also kind enough to send out 7 of these Seagate Exos 20TB drives, which should give me right around 100 terabytes of usable storage once I put them into a ZFS RAID 2. Now, so far, the awesome thing about the Storinator line of servers is you don't need one of these to put in any of your hard drives. They are 100% toolless, including the top panel to access the drive cages. What I will need the screwdriver for is accessing the back panel, which is where the rest of the magic happens. Under the rear panel is everything that makes this server, well, a server. We've got a Supermicro X11 SPL-F motherboard, a storage controller for all of the drives up front, and as an added bonus, a dual 10GB SFP Plus network card. My particular system shipped with an Intel Xeon processor, although I have no idea which model, so I'll find out as soon as I boot everything up. We've also got 128 gigs of DDR4 ECC registered memory, 2 250GB SATA SSDs to run our operating system, and a set of redundant power supplies to keep everything up and running. So the power supplies are 1200 watt at 110 volts or 1400 watt at 240 volts. those are some of the beefiest power supplies I've ever worked with in a server. Definitely the biggest that I have here around my house. Fit and finish-wise, there seems to be a place for everything and everything in its place. The wires are neatly managed, all the cables are pre-ran to the drive trays up front. There's even a spot for the dedicated SATA drives to sit. Overall, this seems like a very well laid out and thought out server. The motherboard itself has a pair of 1 gigabit Ethernet ports and a dedicated IPMI for lights out management. It's also got a single VGA port for video out. Luckily, my server rack already has a VGA KVM switch, so hooking this up should be no big deal at all. Alright, server is all together, and nothing left to do but turn it on, so here we go. Within a second of hitting the power button, I've already got video out. I don't know that I've ever seen that with a server motherboard before. So I think first off, we'll just go into the BIOS here, and we'll see what hardware is actually running inside. So first and foremost, I see we are running an Avago HBA for our controllers, which I believe has an LSI chipset on board. I'll have to verify that with the exact model number once I get it. I did see pop up an Intel Boot Manager for the onboard 1 gigabit NICs, and it looks like we have a Broadcom card for the dual 10 gigabit SFP Plus card that's on board. So there we've got 128 gigabytes of DDR4. Let's go ahead and see what CPU is in here. Looks like an Intel Xeon Silver 4210, running at 2.2 gigahertz. I believe that is the 10-core 20-thread model, but I'll have to look that up really quick. Yep, Intel Xeon 4210, 10-core, 20-thread based on Cascade Lake 14-nanometer process, base clock of 2.2 gigahertz, and a max turbo frequency of 3.2. This is just an 85-watt TDP chip, which I'm actually kind of excited about. This shouldn't be that much of a power sink inside my server rack. The Xeon does have 6 memory channels and supports up to DDR4 2400 registered ECC. And from the looks of things, we have 4 channels populated, again with 2400 megahertz ECC. Other than that, this is just a standard AMI BIOS on our Supermicro board. So, I believe they shipped me an operating system, so let's find out what that's all about. So, by default, it looks like my Storinator did ship with the Houston Command Center, so we're going to go ahead and log into that really quick. So the dashboard shows us a quick overview of our system and all of its specs. So we've got our 20-threaded CPU along with 128 gigs of RAM. Currently, the system is a 45drive AV15. We've got our machine identification as well as our host name. I'm going to go ahead and modify that, and we will rename it to Craft Storinator and change. It's probably too long for Windows, because you can only have 15 characters. Yep, that's 16 characters. Oh well. So for Windows machines, it's going to be the Craft Storinator. Alright, now that the name has changed, let's go ahead and check out some of the other specs here in the Houston UI. We can start with our networking tab, which should show us all of the available network ports. Right now, I just have this hooked up to a single 1 gigabit NIC, but as you can see, we have all 4 of our NICs present down here, including our 2 Broadcom 10 gigabit SFP Plus ports. Houston UI also includes a built-in firewall for the individual server, and as you can see, they already come with a couple exceptions for SSH and DHCP v6 client traffic, as well as the 9090 port that you access the web UI on. Fairly simple, but I do appreciate there being a firewall built directly into the server that is very simple to configure. We go down a little bit further to the 45drives disks tab. This is actually probably my favorite tab in the whole system. You get a physical layout of all of your disks inside of the server, and you can click on each individual disk, see what the device path is inside of Linux, as well as the serial number and any other relevant information inside. So, very powerful for someone who may not have physical access to the server to communicate with a server manager what drive needs to be changed if there's a fault, or simply to identify disks that might be having problems. Down a little bit further, we come to the 45drives system tab, and this is where you can get an internal layout of everything inside the Storinator. So you can see all of our memory DIMM slots, all of our PCI Express slots, how they're populated, what they're populated with, and any other relevant hardware information. As I thought, the HBA card is indeed an LSI RAID controller. It is a SAS 9305-16i set up in HBA mode. We can also see our dual 10 gig network card installed here on PCI Express slot 4. Down here under Network, we again get a list of all of our network interfaces, as well as the MAC address, IPv4, and IPv6 assignments for that particular interface. And finally, there's also an IPMI LAN IP address listed down here, so you don't have to have physical access to the server or look up DHCP records to figure out where your IPMI address is located, and that I really like. There are also some built-in benchmark tools, as well as diagnostics that you can run on the server to figure out if everything is in good running health. There's also a built-in software updater, which lists all of the installed packages inside the Houston UI and allows you to update them individually, set up automatic updates, or automatically install kernel patches as necessary. Obviously, there's a lot more to Houston UI than what I went over here, but overall, it seems like a very straightforward interface for setting up a ZFS file share and keeping an eye on your system health. Alright, I think the only thing left to do is let's go install this into my server rack and get it up and running for the first time for the last time. So, that is my new Storinator. Now obviously there is still a ton of work to do getting this all configured and set up with network shares, but I figured you guys might appreciate seeing the unboxing. Once again, a huge shout out to 45drives for sending over the Storinator AV15. It is definitely going to help with a lot of projects around here, and you will definitely see those in upcoming episodes of Craft Computing. In the meantime, if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing to keep up with daily shenanigans like this. And if you like the content you see on this channel and want to help support me in what I do, consider joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. That is going to do it for me in this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Beer for today is from Equilibrium Brewing. It is the 7 IZZup. It is a hazy IPA clocking in at 7.7%. So this is a collaboration with Civil Society Brewing, and it is brewed and canned at Equilibrium Brewery in Middleton, New York. Boy, beyond being a fantastic looking beer, that is among my favorite hazies I've ever had. Boy, that is fruity, juicy, super tropical. Super tropical. Tastes like pineapple and orange juice with just a hint of IPA in the back. That's quite good. So this one is a little bit of a conundrum because while the flavor profile is very pineapple and orange and very juicy, which you would imply would be a very thick hazy IPA, this one's got like a super crisp finish, and as the name kind of says, like some lemon and lime on the nose of it. You know what's nice about shooting at 10 in the morning is beer number 2 here at 2 p.m. is Block 15 Accumulator Doppelbock. It is an 8.3% German-style lager. Doppelbock, otherwise known as liquid bread. That is like pastry level sweet. Super malty, very, very thick. Little bit of a hop note that kind of clings once it's left your mouth. That's a solid beer.